Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Product Market Fit 101 live talk with experts today. I'm so excited to have all of you here and very excited to meet all of you. My name is Matt Hallman. I will today be the host of you and guide you through this 40 minutes actually with very interesting talks and insights. So before we start, I just want to thank you for joining and I'm very happy to be here. And I would like to do a short introduction of my two colleagues that are actually here. My colleague Karla is a product strategist. She's been working on many fast-growing e-commerce startups. She has all the experience in the world to grow businesses in a sustainable way, actually, which is very important. And privately, she's a climber, trail runner, and off-roading enthusiast. So if you have any questions about that later, I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them. And my other colleague is my colleague Kateryna, actually, who's today. She's a product designer and product discovery evangelist. She's supporting clients in their activities, their business goals by uncovering and understanding their customer needs. Privately, she's a language learner, speaking 5 languages, and she's a cat person, but I would say who is not a cat person. We're going to soon go back to them. First of all, I want to say that we had a live event in Berlin lately, and this is a follow-up to that, the Product Market Fit event in Berlin. Before that, we had one in Amsterdam. And I'm very happy that we can have an online chat actually to go more in depth, answer questions, and discuss topics that we haven't been able to discuss there before. And lastly, at the end of this webinar, we'll have something exciting for you, an announcement about something that's going to benefit every one of you greatly. So stay tuned for that at the end. And maybe let's start with Karla or with Kasia or both of you actually. And I'm going to act like a total product noob in this case. Maybe you can tell me firstly, when we are talking about PMF, what does it mean? Like, what are we talking about when we talk about product market fit? Like, what's the definition? Maybe you can explain it to me.
Sure. I can start, and Kasia, please join me in this explanation. Of course, this is not straightforward, but it's being in a market with a product that satisfies this market. So basically, it's simple and hard as that. So you just need to have the product and the market that will be satisfying for the users in this market. Yeah, the simple definition is something like this. Kasia, I don't know if you'd like to jump in and add something.
Yeah, I guess in terms of definition, that's the simplest and the most straightforward that you could get. Maybe I give you some more explanation later on.
Perfect. Yeah. And so maybe just to ask them, right, when we talk about product market fit, we understand what it is. How do you know if you have product market fit or not? Because maybe I can imagine that some companies think they have it, but they might not have it. Some of them want to have it, but they don't know how to go there. So how do you actually know when there is product market fit or not?
Would you like to go first?
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. So generally, like there is kind of a lot of talks about that. So some people just say that you can feel that you've achieved product market fit, and I guess definitely that's the case, because when you have achieved the product market fit, it will have the influence on your entire pirate metrics funnel and on your other metrics, on your business metrics, revenue, and so on and so forth. But speaking about maybe some more quantifiable like measurement of product market fit, I would maybe mention Sean Ellis's survey. I'm not sure if you've heard about that. So this is a survey proposed by Sean Ellis, the entrepreneur, who suggests measuring product market fit by asking basically one simple question: how would you feel if you could no longer use the product that we are talking about? And you can combine this question, of course, with many other questions, but the key is based on the benchmark that Sean has actually conducted, is to have 40% or higher of your users who report that they will be very disappointed. So if you have 40% or higher, that's kind of a good signal that you're either approaching the product market fit or you're already there.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a lot, actually, 40%. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. It's quite challenging.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, actually, so you have to do quite well then. And maybe a follow-up. So I'm going to put you on the spot, both of you. So do you have an example of one company that has great product market fit, maybe? In your opinion, at least? I know it's a very subjective thing to say, and we don't know all the metrics of all companies, but maybe just top of your head, if you had to name one company, great product market fit, what would it be? And maybe Karla, you can start.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about the table that I saw some time ago. So when those really amazing company achieved the PMF, and I remember that, for example, Tinder achieved it immediately, like in the same second. They are live, they are on the market, they have the PMF. But for example, for Netflix, it was 2 years, almost 2 years. So it really, we think that they're really successful, but in case of Netflix, it was 2 years. I don't know if it's a lot or not, but I would say that this is really interesting to look at those companies and try to understand it. Yeah, so those examples came to my mind.
Great. And Kasia, maybe you have an example as well of a company with great product market fit.
I actually have a surprising one because actually it also came to me as a surprise because I didn't use this application when it was like looking for its product market fit. It's actually Instagram. It might be very surprising that at the beginning, this application, the same very application, was about a very different stuff, so to say. So at the beginning, it actually used to be Bourbon. It used to be called like that. And it was actually not a photo sharing application, but rather a check-in application, so that you could just mark on the map that, okay, guys, I've been to this bar or to this restaurant, and you could shoot a photo and post it. But generally, the application was about checking in and sharing those locations that you recommend probably with your friends. And the surprising thing is that at the very start, it wasn't really popular at all. I guess at like back then, they had around 100 users, which is not a lot, as you can imagine. And what actually the founders started to do back then is to really dig into the data that they collected about their users. They really tried to dive deep and see what the users are actually coming for and what functionality they are using, because as you can imagine, the application like that could have like multiple functionalities actually. But they just couldn't help but notice that the photo sharing aspect was like kind of the rock star there, and it was like the most heavily used aspect. And like eventually they decided to double down on this aspect and to actually strip all the rest. So they just removed all the other functionality and make it as simple as that. And as far as I remember, at the very first day, they got like 25,000 users, like comparing to 100 at all. It was like a huge start. And as you can imagine, it's continuing.
Yeah, so maybe a question for me as a follow-up. So if you have not that many users, actually, like they had, right? You said 100 users in that case, you go very deep to find out how to achieve product market fit or what the reason is. And the bigger number you have, the more you look at the statistical data, or how does that work actually? Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say at this stage, it actually makes a lot of sense to really concentrate on like not on asking the users why they are not using your application, but on asking the users who actually keep using your application why they are doing so, because those might be actually the users that you have this fit with. And if you understand who those users are from this moment on, you can kind of optimize and optimize. And actually, like the segmentation also really helps here. So if you divide those users on supporters who really support your application and your product, and try to double down on that.
Yeah, we are talking about the early adopters. They're really, really important, and always looking at the metrics, you're looking at cohorts, not the whole segment. We are looking at cohorts and we're trying to understand if they are growing in numbers or not.
Yeah. These sound like great tips, actually. I think there's so many people who have like small companies are starting out and wondering how to go about that, right? How to achieve product market fit. And we all see these big, beautiful companies, right, that are already there. But I think it's much more useful sometimes to look, what do you do when you only have like 50 or 100 users actually? So this was very useful, I think, for them. Yeah. And maybe to go back to another part, right? When we look at Instagram and then we saw how they talk to their users basically and built from on there. I'm going to ask you something about product-led growth, which is a different topic, but it's associated with it. And maybe again, for me as like a total person who's not knowing it, I know a little bit about it, of course, but let's explain it quite simple. How would you explain what product-led growth is and what it actually means? And any of you can start.
Yeah. So this is a business methodology. This is like the simplest, again, definition. The business methodology when all of those important product market fit metrics, so retention, acquisition, expansion, conversion, are all driven by product. And by product, I mean the user experience, the features, the engagement there. So it's all driven by product. And it doesn't mean that we are not having salespeople in our team, for example. The product is this main place when user can just understand what's going on there, and then we can expand on that. So and it's really beneficial for sure, because right now it's really hard to acquire users, and it's good to just show and don't tell. Just try to get them trying your product. So this is the simplest definition. Yeah, we can talk more about that.
Yeah, Kasia, do you have something to add to that, or?
Yeah, I just might say that, like, I suppose right now this model, this go-to-market strategy, is actually maybe the most popular among SaaS products. And actually, I guess it also might relate to the B2B and B2C products, but the mixture that you can get, like, of the product-led growth and the sales-led growth might actually depend, like, on your product strategy, and also perhaps on like how complex your product is. But like the SaaS products are probably the most applicable in this case, I guess.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
And maybe good to understand as well. So you both mentioned already product-led growth, right? And that it's important. Maybe you can mention again one more time why it's so important, actually. What are the best benefits of product-led growth versus other types of led growth, actually? So how does that look like?
For sure, I would start with the cost of acquisition. So it's higher, and in case of the product-led growth, you can acquire more customers, you can have contact with more customers, and for us, the user experience is everything, and we really and this is the most important kind of area in the product-led growth companies, for example. So, and why again is it important? You can have impact on many different product market fit or PMF metrics. So you can have impact on acquisition, retention, engagement, all of that. So I would say that in this competitive environment, that's why it's really important.
Yeah. Maybe if we go back to the, like, make an analogy to the product market fit question we had, are there any examples of product-led growth companies that are very strong or that come to mind? It's something like maybe you have an example of a company that's like a great example of a company that uses product-led growth. And I think you both might have one, actually. So I would be very curious to see one example in the wild to say so. Maybe Kasia, you can start.
Yeah, like off the top of my mind, I would say Slack is a perfect example. And actually, what is interesting, that's actually the B2B product, because it's just an example to show that product-led growth is not strictly limited to B2C products, actually. If you apply some, for example, low-touch sales techniques, it actually can work really well with the B2B segment too. And by that, I mean like targeting not maybe the higher ups, so to say, not the CEOs, but the employees of this company. And through those employees kind of land and expand in this client's organization. So yeah, Slack, I guess, is a very good example here.
Good.
Yeah, I would add Notion. It's B2C and B2B. And what's really interesting there is the product-led sales approach. So product-led growth, of course, is there, and people can try to understand the app. There are a free trial and so on. But if they want to acquire enterprise customers, they don't have to switch to sales-led growth. They can try to add on the product led sales. So they have the demos, and the sales team are kind of working on the product and with the product. So that's really important and interesting as well.
And I don't know, but maybe it's difficult to transfer from a company that's not product-led to transfer to a company that's product-led. I see you already saying yes, Karla, I think. So it would be my question for companies that are maybe not so strongly product-focused. It is possible probably, but maybe you have some experience with that as well.
Yeah, I would say that of course it is possible, and of course it's easier to start as a product-led company and then kind of expand on that. So we can, imagine Salesforce trying to be product-led. It's possible. It just need to kind of change of the mindset and also to believe in product teams. Product teams are really, really important and kind of as a core for the whole business. It's hard, but it's possible, of course.
Yeah, great. Is there maybe one tip how companies can start, or for people back home, like let's say you're a company, you're not that much product focused. Is there one thing where you would say, but if it's too complex, please tell me. But like for me, maybe there's one thing I can do tomorrow, basically, to get it a bit kickstarted.
What do you think, Kasia?
I guess like the most important thing that you really have to do to start with the product-led is to create really great, smooth product. So that's where everything starts. And to actually, like once you have this product, to try to minimize as much as possible the user's activation time, because that's the key for this engine, so to say. The sooner the users experience the value of your product, the sooner they are likely to convert, and the less likely they are to churn from your application. So that's something to pay attention to.
Karla agrees, or do you have another tip as well?
Yeah, I would think that maybe working on the product vision and mission. So work on those high level, really inspirational kind of area for the product, and to then kind of build on that and try to create this product culture as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and maybe from there it actually touches another subject, right? Because for all these things, in the end, we need to measure what our users do, right? How quick they do things, how much time they spend on things. And we have this term, it's called pirate metrics. It always sounds like, I love it. I'm a pirate fan, Jack Sparrow. But pirate metrics in a product context, what does it actually mean? Or what are we talking about when we are talking about that? Then maybe I can start with Kateryna.
Yeah, it's actually a framework suggested by Dave McClure, who kind of defined those five, so to say, elements that the business should keep their eyes on. Actually, in the classic variation, the pirate metrics can represent some kind of funnel. So they represent the customer's journey from the very beginning, from the beginning of when they start to be aware of the product, and right up to the revenue. So those 5 elements are acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue. And yeah, probably it's a good idea to also go in depth, and it's actually a very broad topic, so I guess we can do that. But yeah, if you would like to add something, Karla, at this point, go ahead.
This is the perfect explanation.
Yeah, maybe for me then, like, so we have these pirate metrics and we understand what they are. So how do you implement them or use them actually? Like, how would that work? How would that look like?
First of all, I guess you need to think what is the priority for your business, what you would like to prioritize in terms of metrics. So, for example, for some businesses, the acquisition will be the most key metric here, and some other businesses might decide to double down on the retention, for instance, due to the high acquisition costs. And for each of those stages, it actually would be great to have like one metric. I would say like those 5 elements that I just listed, those are not metrics, but those are more of categories. And under those categories, there can be like multiple metrics actually to choose from. And you can choose the one that, for example, matches your business model. So for instance, for acquisition, It actually depends whether you are using the organic or inorganic channels. So, for instance, if you are using advertisement, then like click-through rate and cost per click might be the good metrics here. If we speak about the activation, this one actually is very tricky because it actually depends on how your product team defines the activation moment. Basically, that should be the moment when the user for the first time actually managed to use the core value of your application, or at least like kind of approached to that moment. So it may be very different. Sometimes it's said that, for example, sign up might be the activation point, but I guess I would argue with that because the sign up itself is not when we experience the value. Probably that's some moment after the user has already signed up and started to use the application. So that's also something to measure. But as I said, it's tricky because for different products, it might be very different. So activation first should be defined. So how do we understand the activation? And like after that, we can elaborate some metric. Speaking of retention, I guess here the goal of all businesses is to achieve the point when the users are not pulled to the application with some external motivation, with some external triggers like emails, advertisement, and so on. But like the goal is to reach this unprompted repeated use so that the users come to our application without any like cue from our side, so that they just become kind of in good sense addicted to it. And here we can use such metrics as stickiness rate, as daily and monthly active users, and basically the churn rate, which shows us how many of our users, for example, stop using our application, so they don't become retained customers and they don't use our product repeatedly anymore. When it comes to referral, like it's a good idea to use this element, and I guess it's often overseen, but it's a perfect opportunity to actually reduce your customer acquisition cost, because it's kind of let's say a free engine of generating new customers. So basically, the customers you already have may bring some new customers to your application without your additional effort, without your additional, financial expenses and so on. So that's something you definitely need to have a look into. It might be some referral program. It might be just word of mouth. And here you might think about measuring NPS, which is kind of debatable, but still it might be good for you. Viral coefficient, it actually shows you how many new users your existing users are bringing on average. And you might be very, very actually surprised how much difference it may make. For instance, if we compare the products with viral coefficient of 1 and viral coefficient of 1.1, it's actually a great difference because like if there is a big scale application, it's a huge difference. And to end it with revenue, it actually also depends on your business model. So for instance, if your business model is related to advertisement, in-app advertisement, for instance, so then click-through revenue is the right metric. But also if that's, for instance, some SaaS product, then maybe paying customers, like average revenue per user might be a good one. So it all tied to your own business model and to what exactly your app is doing. But basically, it's the funnel which represents the journey of your user and where you might be looking in this journey.
Maybe another question as a follow-up, actually. Is there, let's say I'm a startup. I've just started out, right? And I'm a small company still. I don't have like thousands of users, but 100 users. Do I look at all these, are these metrics very important to start with? Do I ignore them, in fact, and just start with the product? What would you say? Do I measure things right away?
Like if you do not have a product, maybe there is nothing. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to answer that with a simple simple way. So retention, I think, is the most important metric, I would say. Maybe Kasia, you could agree or not with it. Retention is the most important metrics for pre-PMF companies. And those who can hear me right now, if you're pre-PMF, your only goal is to achieve PMF, not other goals. Achieve PMF, this is the most important thing. And I would say that retention and get to this is just the most important metric, and I would focus on that and trying to understand what type of metrics, what type of numbers you should look at. So my favorite product ever, Arc, the web browser. So they are looking at the retention so people need to use the product 5 days a week, and they consider them retained. So you need to understand what does it mean to you, but I would say retention. Kasia, would you agree, or you'd like to argue?
Yeah, I would say it's fairly important. But some companies, some products actually also employ the one metric that matters framework, so to say. So they just strategically pick what is the most important thing for them to measure right now. But it doesn't mean that they don't have to look at the pirate metrics because there is a chance always that if you pick the wrong one metric to measure, one metric that matters, or the wrong North Star metric, there might be also the risk that it will influence negatively all the other aspects. And what I mean by that is by increasing one metric and concentrating all the attention on one metric, you can risk decreasing or deteriorating all the other metrics. So as a health check, those are the things that it's good if you have them, all right? So yeah, even if you concentrate on something like particular, it's good to have a look.
Great.
Yeah, I would add also, I have a great quote here from Casey Winters, so the CPO of Eventbrite. You have PMF when your retention creates enough money, so revenue, to drive sustainable acquisition, and you have all of those important metrics there. So retention, to have money, to then acquire more, to then retain them, to have more money, and this is a full cycle there.
Yeah, it's actually a lovely quote, and it's like the flywheel all around, right? You make money to basically get new customers, you have a sustainable business, and then you can really focus on not only surviving, but growing your company.
Exactly.
Yeah? And now we're talking about growing our company. There's this concept, and it's called the opportunity or the ops solution tree. What can you tell me about it? What is this concept? Maybe one of you can explain to me what it actually means.
Kasia, you're the expert, so go ahead.
Okay, but if you would like to add something, just go ahead. Okay, so I would say it's a discovery tool that allows us to visualize the discovery process and to visualize our path, our journey from discovered opportunities to the desired outcome. And by desired outcome, I mean both business outcome and also product outcome here. So like discovery process, and if any of the participants here have experience of dealing with discovery, you probably know that it's quite a messy process as it is. So we do not want to add even more messiness here, and the opportunity solution tree is just the right tool that can actually help us chart out and put everything into place.
And maybe as a follow-up, how is it used in practice? Maybe you can give some examples of how it looks like. How do you make it practically usable, or what do you actually do to use this framework?
Yeah, so the first thing that is actually essential, and it's at the top of the opportunity solution tree, is the desired outcome. Mm-hmm. And here we typically start with the business outcome. You might argue that it's kind of not customer-centric to start with business outcome. But like my response to that would be that without satisfying the business needs, we will not be able to satisfy the customer's needs in the long run. So that is why we start with the business outcomes. And those are those big chunks from our strategy, for instance, some strategic initiatives, financial metrics, and so on. Based on that, we typically try to elaborate the product goal. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by product goal is what we believe, what product metric we believe will be able to move the business metric in the right direction. Because as a product team, we don't actually have the full ownership of the business metric. It also requires contribution from finance, from sales, from whoever in the company, from multiple other departments. As a product team, we can control product metrics. Therefore, we need this product outcome. And based on that, actually, that's not only like one-time process. I would say like one more thing that you need to do even like before you define those outcomes, and not only before, but continuously, is interviewing and doing the user research. From those interviews, from doing the user research, emerge multiple opportunities. And those opportunities are kind of the needs, the desires, and the pain points our users experience. And of course, as you can imagine, not all of those opportunities, they are very various and multiple, and not all of them will be relevant for us at this point of time. So the challenge here is to pick the right opportunities that we believe will have the potential to address our product metric.
So how do you know that? Or maybe you wanted to explain it, because that would be my follow-up. So how do I know what's important and what is not, right? I get this feedback, there's many opportunities, there's many things. How do I know what to focus on, actually?
Yeah, so first of all, like based on your knowledge of your product and your customers, you pick the opportunities that you think are relevant for your business goal right now and for your product goal, and you actually incorporate them in your opportunity solution tree. But as you can imagine, there might be multiple opportunities that you think are relevant. So there is a need definitely for prioritization. And first of all, we need to prioritize the opportunities. And also the good thing that we can say about the opportunity solution tree is that here we are not speaking straight away about prioritizing the solutions, right? So we are speaking about prioritizing the opportunities. So we don't get stuck with one solution that first came to our mind, right? So we avoid this pitfall. And if I had to give a tip about prioritization of opportunities, I would say that there are like a few factors. First of all, that's opportunity size. So how many users do you think this by addressing this opportunity you can satisfy? There are also market factors. So looking at your competition, you can also say if, for example, satisfying this opportunity right now strategically for you is a must-have, or maybe it's, for instance, a differentiator. Yeah. So did you want to add something, Karla?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the prioritization frameworks here. So the most the simple one that I use like once a week for sure is the ICE metric. So you can try it because it's impact, confidence, and then effort. So those are, of course, you have to understand what does it mean for your product, but it's just really important to kind of understand what's the impact, how many users will be impacted, then do we have the confidence in this feature, do we know that it will be useful, and then the effort, we can talk to our lovely developers and try to understand if it's a month of work or a week, and we can just try it out.
Yeah. Maybe the last question about this opportunity solution tree, basically. So let's say you have this opportunity, you see it, right? So what do you do with it then, actually? So how do you validate it, or how do you practically make it to use? Like, what are the steps you take then, basically, if you have right, you've had these opportunities, you've selected them kind of, right, maybe on the ICE method or not. What do I do then with them? How do I make sure that it's measured correctly or tested correctly, or that I don't throw away important things that I might oversee?
I would say that this is, we need to understand that this is the continuous discovery framework. So we are doing the delivery, and in the meantime, we're trying to understand what are our opportunities and trying to expand on that. So do the discovery for one opportunity, maybe talk to our customers, maybe do some smoke test or A/B test to understand if this opportunity is kind of our thing to go later on and do and develop it full or implement it the whole feature. So this is the continuous work, and we need to understand our build, measure, learn loop here. So we are doing the delivery at the same time we're doing the continuous discovery. Kasia?
I would just only add what Teresa Torres suggests, the creator of this method, actually. So she actually suggests to try to brainstorm the solutions for this opportunity, and actually do this brainstorm multiple times to work out different ideas. Pick 3 of them that you think have the most potential, and after that, attention, you do not test the ideas, you test the assumptions. So like a very helpful exercise here to do is to try to identify which hidden assumptions are there in those solutions. So for example, what do we think should be true for this solution to work? And after that, we are testing the assumptions. Why not ideas? Just because it's simpler, faster, and like more agile way. We don't have to build anything. We can just, to test assumption, we can just build a prototype. We can do very, very short test, and it's just a more frugal way here.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice, right? Especially when companies start as well, they need to think about being frugal and efficient with their time and everything. So I think this is really, really good advice as well. I want to go to the Q&A with you. Because we're coming towards the end of our talk, actually. And there were a few questions from the audience, and I will read them out, actually. And for the people who are watching, please write your questions in the chat, and I will be able to read them out. So the first question is, when you have PMF, so product market fit, in one market, and you're expanding to another market, what do you then basically, how do you find the most profitable market maybe, or the segment, or how do you do it then? So what does it mean, product market fit, when you found it in one market, but you're scaling to other markets?
Would you like to go first, or do you want me to start?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really interesting. I would say that this is like, we need to repeat our work, kind of. We achieve our PMF in one market. We need to understand we need to do the research and the competitors' research and the market research and market analysis to try to understand what is the total addressable market there. So this is a metric that we need to follow while trying to achieve the PMF. We need to do our work kind of again, or to repeat our approach there, to try to understand if this market is good for us, or we need to pivot and resign and try to with different market. And this is totally normal. Pivots are good for us. So don't worry if you need to change your approach. So yeah, that's my answer here.
Kasia, do you have something to add as well?
Yeah, I would also just say that having product market fit in one market doesn't guarantee that PMF in another market will come for granted. It also means that you have to kind of start from the not from scratch, but close to that.
Great. Our second question is a bit more focused on the revenue and the money, actually. So it says, how can I check whether the new features planned by me in the application can bring me business profit? So how can I check if it brings me profit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to read your signals.
Yeah, Karla, maybe you can go first.
Sure. So I would say that before even implementing the feature, we need to understand what we'd like to achieve there. So we need to understand what is our kind of starting point. So let's say that we activate 10 users a day. And with this feature, we'd like to go up or earn more money by X. So we need to understand what is our starting point. We need to understand what's our goal here. And then, of course, we need to bring analytics in and try to understand if it's going well. And you can use different tools to kind of understand what are the events in the funnel that we want to kind of look at and try to understand if it's going to the right direction.
Yeah, Kasia, you have something to add to that, or is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's the context of this question, but I would suggest maybe starting before we even started implementing this feature, right? When I spoke about the assumptions, one of the assumptions is related to feasibility of our solutions. So there are multiple ways to check whether the solution is feasible, or at least try to mitigate this risk even before we have implemented something. So I would suggest to start maybe very early on, even before we haven't before we have spent some money on implementing the feature, and start with some very maybe agile test. And if there is a signal that there might be something into it, we can think about more scaled test here.
Yeah, great. And then we'll go on to the last question of our Q&A actually. And it's a simple one, and I think you answered it a bit earlier also, but maybe also a beautiful question. What is your favorite PMF metric? So both of you have to pick one of them. And I will start with Karla actually, because I see Kasia is still thinking and you just gave an answer already. So Karla, what is your favorite PMF metric?
Yeah, I would say retention for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is really, really important. Try to get so exciting as well. And I would say that with retention, you can then achieve the revenue and then acquire more customers. So yeah, favorite one.
And Kasia, your favorite, which one keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I would say those answers to Sean Ellis' survey. It's also a survey, but it can be treated as a metric because we can do this survey multiple times regularly. So I would say this one it seems to me actionable and also gives this, space to explore the segments of our users further. So I would say this one is kind of my favorite.
Perfect. Sounds both really, really great, actually. I will think which one my favorite will be. I actually don't have one at the moment, but for the next time, I will think of one, actually, so I can also chime in and let you know which one is my favorite one. So our Q&A is done, and I want to thank the audience for asking questions, and I want to thank you, Kateryna and Karla, for answering all these questions and sharing your knowledge with us. So big applause for you digitally, though, so you cannot hear it, but it is there. Thank you again for sharing with me, and I would like to turn to the audience for one last element, actually, and that is the Loop platform that we have. I told you at the beginning, we have an exciting announcement for you today, and I want to share with you that Boldare has built a new platform, especially product-focused and digitalization-focused, and it's called the Loop platform. On the Loop platform, you can find relevant content, information, everything about product actually, and it's a great knowledge platform to look back talks, read back elements that we already discussed, and find other interesting content for you. The link to the Loop platform will be shared in the chat actually. It's an invitation-only platform, so you will have to sign up. This will first lead you to a form actually where you can add your details, and from there on, we will allow you to go onto the platform. So stay tuned there. For all the other people, if you have any questions or anything that we can do for you in the future, if you want to discuss anything more with Karla or with Kateryna or with anyone else, then please just contact us and let us know. I think we're more than happy to discuss anything with you at this point. And for the rest, I would like to thank all of you again for joining us. Thank you, Karla. Thank you, Kateryna, for being here. And I wish everyone a nice evening. So thank you so much and see you next time.
Thank you too.
Thank you. See you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.